Welcome back to the tournament. In this series, we take a look at the best hip-hop artists from a list of 2048 MCs. In the last video, we covered brackets 9 through 16. Today, it's brackets 17 through 24. For more information regarding the rules of the tournament, check out part 1. Let's begin. Starting off in the first round, I gave it to Silent Night clearly over DJ Ugg, Sexyy over Gangsta and IP. Always loved Sexyy and his music. He blends rap with other genres like folk, punk, indie, and jazz, creating a sound that's totally his own. Just listen to tracks like Forever 33 and then 100 Dragonflies or Daybreak. You'll be shocked to hear they're from the same guy. He's known for his fast flows, personal and introspective lyrics, and sticking to a DIY approach throughout his label, Fake 4 Incorporated. He's helped shape the underground scene and inspired other artists to experiment, stay authentic, and push the boundaries of what hip-hop can be. Master Fresh, obviously better than Lil Boom. Don Wolf and Tanya Morgan versus Hollow the Don is debatable, but I went with Hollow the Don as I think he sticks out more as an artist. It is close though. Ken and George over La Tyler, C Knowledge or Doodlebud of Doodleball Planets versus Pop Hunna. Now, who do I go with? Anyway, Saul Williams, who many might not consider to be a rapper, but for the sake of this tournament, I did. I love his approach to music creation, focusing on cadence and language first, and rhythm second. His dense, abstract, and literary spoken word pieces are moving and thought-provoking. Big L versus Tamad Savage. Man, this is just so tough. Who should I go with? Cole 187 is better than John Bellion in all aspects. Never cared for John's music outside of some beats personally. It's like watching hip-hop's equivalent to a Pixar movie. Roots Manuva over Jermaine Dupri. Dupri is a dope producer and I don't think he's got that at rapping, but the gap in skill is large enough for his production capabilities to not matter much in this matchup. RX Poppy defeated Claire, although I'm not a fan of either. Ice Cold Bishop sticks out a lot more as an artist compared to Dreamdale rapper Loot, who is arguably the better lyricist. You can make arguments for either, but I went with Bishop. Cardinal Official versus Big Lou is arguable for both sides. Big Lou would probably win in a rap battle, but Cardinal has more versatility, more hits, and has better songwriting, so I chose him. Just One versus Real Sick, both incredibly skilled MCs and wordsmiths. I went with Real Sick though, so I feel like the gap in rapping skills is large enough for it to overlook the artistic contribution of G-Swan, but you can make an argument for either. While Others' Doflame is another interesting matchup. I like both, but I went with Doflame for a broader artistic vision and more diversity. He sticks out more in my opinion. And of course, the king of Codeine has to take it over Baby Kia. Second round, I went with Sexyy over Silent Night. Sexy's content and diversity are what gave him the edge in my opinion. Then I gave it to Hollow the Dawn over Maestro First West. Both very talented, but I feel like West's skills are a little outdated. C Knowledge over Kevin George. Big Al over Saul Williams, but Saul is incredible though. I gave it Cold 187 over Roots Manuba. Roots is probably the better lyricist, but I prefer Cold 187's flow, voice, delivery, and discography. Ice Cold Bishop over RX Poppy. Given the large gap in rapping quality, I give it to Real Sick once again over Cardinal Official. If you're someone who values influence a lot, I can see you giving this round to Cardi though, because he's a very important figure in Canadian hip-hop. He created a unique Toronto sound that blends boom bap with dancehall and reggae. He helped popularize T-Dot skying, a nickname for Toronto. He also showed that Canadian rappers could succeed internationally and guided younger artists, solidifying Canada's place in the global hip-hop map. And lastly, I had to give it to the Prince of Percocets over Doflame in terms of diversity, discography, and nitpicking abilities. For the third round, I started off with Sexyy over Hollow the Dawn. The gap in rapping skills isn't actually that large in my opinion, and as a holistic artist, Sexyy handily wins this one. Hurts to say it, but I gave it to Big L over Doodlebug. I've said it before, but Digable Planets are my favorite group of all time, and Craig's never had a whack verse in my opinion, but I think we can all agree that L is indeed superior. Cold 187 over Ice Cold Bishop. And finally, in a shocking turn of events for many, I give it to the Minister of Misogyny himself over Real Sick. Don't get me wrong, Sick would demolish Future in a rap battle all day any day, but in every other category, I favor Hendrix. I love his voice most of the time, delivery. He's better at expressing emotions, has an excellent discography, and has a way more distinct and recognizable sound. Monster, DS2, What a Time to Be Alive, 56 Nights, Evil, The Wizard, Save Me, High Off Life, and We Don't Trust You are all great records in my opinion. At the end of the day, this choice may piss some of you off, and if it does, tough tomatoes. In the semifinals, I went with Big L over Sexyy. Love Sexyy a lot as I've gone over already, but I'm on now, it's Big L. And in the second match of the semifinals, this was a tough one. In the end, I gave it to the... I've run out of nicknames. I give it to Future. Cold has the better technical rapping in the traditional sense, but Future's artistry, unique style, and creative contributions tip the scale in his favor in my opinion. But if they're still not the Future made it so far in the tournament, don't worry because I handily picked Big L over him all day, every day. So L is now in our top 64. We Kick off the first round with a great Mr. Lift over Almighty J, then Diabolic versus Phantasm is debatable. Diabolic has superior rapping skills, but Celladwellas have the better catalog in my opinion. My mind may change while I'm editing this, but I went with Phantasm as I prefer his music. Premrock took out Jazz Cartier, Dumbskull easily better than Big Boss Vete. I've never been the biggest Sick Jackin' fan, so I went with MC Out Loud. Dr. Ice is much more of a legend, but his rapping skills can't hold a candle to MC Otherwise, who took out Eminem at the 1997 Rap Olympics. Bill Saver over
This that newborn pussy make my water break. Vibe all the time, vibe. It's a vibe all the time. It's a vibe, vibe. It's a vibe, vibe. It's a vibe, vibe. It's a vibe.
You're scaring me. You are scaring me. Why would you do that?
But anyway, Skyzoo over Uno the Activist, Inspectah took out Rapsody, Steel of Smith and Wesson defeated Damian Quinn, Chris Crack took out Life MC as I feel he has the better discography and I prefer his voice and delivery, Ice Cube, Lil Reese, no question that Cube takes this. I went with Beans over Lord Apex, but both are very talented MCs in their own right. I just prefer Antipop Consortium's music a lot more and think Beans' Wolves of the World album is very underrated. Herbo over Colson Baker, Pace One obviously better than Ugly God, and finally E40 took out Juvenile. For the second round, I had Mr. Lift over Phantasm, then I chose Premrock over Numbskull. I prefer Shrapnel's discography and I think Prem is the better lyricist. Otherwise, over Out Loud in terms of accomplishments in the genre, Skyzoo easily better than Bill Staber, Inspectah over Steel, Ice Cube over Chris Crack, Beans over G Herbo, and the last matchup is arguable on both sides. I prefer the Outsiders music and Pace's solo work over anything E40 has made, but E40 sticks out a lot more as an artist. Pace is probably the better lyricist, but I feel like E40 is the total artistic package, so I went with him, though my mind could change by the day. Now we're at the third round where I started off with Mr. Lift over Premrock, Skyzoo over Otherwise, Ice Cube over Inspectah, maybe not lyrically, but in every other category. If we're excluding group releases, Cube's first 4 solo albums crush anything INS has made. I also think Cube is the better storyteller with better content in his rhymes and also had a better flow in his prime. Lastly, I went with E40 over Beans in terms of style and recognizability. For the semifinals, I went with Mr. Lift over Skyzoo, but it is debatable. Both are excellent MCs, but based on Lift's accomplishments, I chose him. I also think he has a superior discography. I Phantom and Black Dialogue are superior to anything Skyzoo has made in my opinion. Lift also has more songs that would end up on our best rap songs list like Life on the Plantation, Earth Crusher, and Black Dialogue. He also has the slightly better content, is more creative in my opinion, and has out-rapped bigger names like Aesop, Vinny Paz, and LP, so his accomplishments are greater. And Cube over E40 needs no explanation. Cube was also the victor in the finals, meaning that O'Shea is now in our top 64. I started off the first round of Bracket 19 by ranking Chip over Fruit Quan. Chip is an animal on the mic, basically the UK's version of 50 Cent, dissing everyone and their mom on records. Big Pun obviously better than Sexyy Red. I don't hate her as much as others do, but come on now, it's Big Pun. Anyway, Homeboy Sandman over House and Salam, MC Supernatural over Kill Bill. I know Kill Bill's been blowing up like crazy, but I haven't been able to get into his music personally. Young Lean over Shy Glizzy, Lil Dap obviously better than N.W.A Slime. Unknown P is kind of a mean rapper, so I went with DZ Brown on this matchup. Agala versus Big Psych is debatable, but I went with Agala due to his, in my opinion, superior rapping skills. Group legacy and proximity to legends don't outweigh a rapping advantage in my opinion. Dope Knife over Stitches, Heather B over Neft the Pharaoh, Denmark Vesey versus Ty Ferris is debatable. Ty is the clearer MC, but Denmark's artistic vision and uniqueness are significant, and the rapping gap isn't overwhelmingly enough to override that. Kanye East, as most of you know, is a meme rapper that says just as much dumb stuff as Kanye West himself.
Fortnite balls, I'm gay, I like boys, I kidnap autistic kids, little Mosey is watching.
Aesop Nast isn't a great rapper or anything, but he's made some good stuff for the rest of Aesop Mob. Route 49 over Jay the Youngin, Kano over Blanco Brown, Rum Nitty over Nappy Nina, and Shauna over Lunch Money Lewis. Second round, Big Pun handily defeats Chip. Homeboy Sandman isn't as aggressive or traditionally clean as MC Supernatural, but his abstract and heady bars, sense of humor, delivery, and discography are what gave him the W for me. Will Tap over Young Lean, Agala has a larger body of work compared to DZ Brown, so I went with him. Same with Dope Knife and Heather B. Denmark Vesey is worlds better than Aesop Nast, Kano over Rock 49, and Rum Nitty is definitely better than Shauna. For the third round, I chose Big Pun over Sandman. Lil Dep's work with Group Home in my opinion trumps that of Agala's work with Dipset. Agala is technically sharper in spots, but Lil Dep hits harder and leaves a stronger impression in my opinion, but it is close. Same with Denmark Vesey and Dope Knife. Both great MCs. I ended up going with Denmark because while Dope Knife is very good and more immediately exciting, Denmark brings more depth and artistically overall, and the gap in rapping isn't large enough to flip it. And Kano in terms of discography and content is better than Rum Nitty in my opinion. In the semifinals, we had Big Pun take out Little Dap, and Kano in terms of discography took out Denmark Vesey, although that's debatable. And for the finals, if it wasn't obvious enough, Pun defeated Kano and lands on our top 64. So for the first matchup in the first round of bracket 20, I went with Tommy Wright III over Young Miami, AZ over Young Pinch, L Fudge over Trill Sammy, Jim Jones over Max P. Big Sean defeated LV, although that's debatable. South Central Cartel made much better music than Big Sean, but I don't think LV is on Sean's level when he's at his best. J Squared over Castro the Savage. From what I've listened to from both artists, I think Castro might win in a rap battle, but his music is just not for me. I prefer what Jay has done. Moving from there, Pete Nice over BossMan Dlow. Don't care about ESTG or Mad Ox, but ESTG has some songs I like, so I went with him. Same with Jocelyn Hernandez and T-Wayne. That one song Wayne has is alright, so I went with him. Greg Gorn over Candyman. Grease versus Soulja Slim is debatable. I'm not the biggest fan of either, but I like more songs from Soulja Slim, and I feel like he's more authentic on the mic comparatively speaking. The Greaves would have probably won in a battle. Fillmore Green over Shaggy 2 Dope. Educated Rapper over Play That Voice A. Don't care about Shorty or Too Slimy, but I've enjoyed more songs from Shorty, so I went with him. Percy P versus Charlie Clips is again debatable. Lyrically, I'd probably say they're more or less even. I gave the win to Percy P thanks to his superior discography. His debut, Perseverance, is very underrated. Definitely check it out if you haven't. And lastly, I give it to Ishmael Butler of the legendary Digable Planets and Shabazz Palaces over Cuban Link of the Terror Squad. Cuban Link is great, but Butterfly is in a tier of his own in my opinion. Digable Planets are my favorite group of all time, as I said earlier. They were pivotal to pioneering the jazz subgenre. By blending smooth jazz samples with boom bap production, Afrocentric themes, and conscious lyricism, this style helped shape a more reflective and musically rich form of hip-hop. It emphasized lyrical depth, relaxed sonic textures, and artistic experimentation, influencing later acts like Common, Mos Def, and Kendrick, who expanded hip-hop beyond the dominance of mainstream gangster rap. I can't name you a whack flow or a verse from Butler in his prime with Digable Planets. It's a shame though, because now his most recent music is pretty bad. But Digable Planets' debut, Blow Up Home, Black Up, and Les Majesty are all classics to me, and rank as some of the best hip-hop there is. Moving on to round 2, I started off with AZ over Tommy Wright III. L Fudge versus Jim Jones is debatable. Fudge is the superior lyricist, but shines the least in the Demigods collective. Jim Jones made undeniable hits with the rest of Dipset. He's improved quite a bit, I think. He's put out some solid records in the 2010s and now 2020s, so I gave this round to Jim Jones. Big Sean over J Squared. Pete Nice obviously better than ESTG. Same with Greg Porn and T-Wayne. Fillmore Green is lyrically superior and has better storytelling, but when it came to style and artistic output, I gave it to Soulja Slim. Educated Rapper over Shorty. And lastly, it is sad to see Percy P eliminated, but I went with Ishmael. Outside of his debut, Percy's catalog pales in comparison to Digable Planets and early Shabazz Palaces, in my opinion. In the third round, we started off with AZ defeating Jim Jones and Pete Nice taking out Big Sean. I had Greg Porn over Soulja Slim as I feel the gap in rapping is too big to ignore. Porn sparred lyrically with Black Thought and the rest of the Roots crew. I don't think Soulja Slim could do the same. In the last matchup, I went with Ishmael Butler over Educated Rapper. In the semifinals, we had AZ over Pete Nice and Ishmael Butler over Greg Porn. AZ versus Ishmael Butler in the finals is a difficult matchup for me, as both are great and skilled MCs. AZ's debut was great, and he would probably win in a versus, but I prefer Butterfly's music a lot more. Plus, he put out multiple great projects compared to AZ's one. In a battle, I think AZ would win, but that's also because Butterfly's style isn't really made for battling. Butterfly has the better messaging, more versatility, the better catalog, and I prefer his overall style. It's a very close matchup and can change on the whim, but I went with Ishmael Butler. But I wouldn't be mad if any of you picked AZ. In the first matchup of round 1 in bracket 21, I gave it to Mr. J Medeiros over Rallo. Then I chose Knee Loves Bias over Yovaz because he operates more as a true rapper. Aesop Rock over Chuck Strangers in all aspects. Black Sam over Kid Ink. Bass Santana is a lot more aggressive and direct and has a couple of cool songs and verses, so I went with him. M-Child is efficient on the mic, but I went with Kaniva over him due to his solid punchlines and better breath control. Not to mention he's rapped alongside tougher lyricists, namely Eminem. I went with Cool Calm Pete over Pitch and John. Both skilled MCs, but Pete's wordplay and punchlines, along with all the output he did with Def Chucks, are what put him over John for me. Don't care about TK or Smiley, but TK has a couple of cool songs, whereas Smiley is just jockey. Then I went with Mouseberg over Lord Have Mercy from the Flip Bub Squad. Due to Mouseberg's stronger overall presence and effectiveness on records, his delivery and conviction hit harder in my opinion. Self Jupiter and Thion Jabus, both great rappers, but Self Jupiter is in a league of his own comparatively speaking in my opinion. Not just his solo work and feature verses, but all the stuff he did with Hellfire Club and especially Freestyle Fellowship trump anything Javis has put out in my opinion. Freestyle Fellowship brought a jazz-influenced free-flowing style that was totally different from the gangster rap dominating Los Angeles at the time. They helped build the West Coast underground scene that later inspired artists like Bus Driver, Open Mike Eagle, and Kendrick Lamar. Their fast improvisational flows also influenced artists like Bone Thugs and Harmony and Busta Rhymes. Overall, they pushed lyrical complexity, independence, and creative freedom, changing what West Coast hip-hop could sound like. Everyone in the group are phenomenal lyricists with great catalogs. I highly recommend the group's To Whom It May Concern release, as well as Inner City Riots, which is in my opinion their best record. Seventh Seal, Way Cool, Bully to the Block, and Hot Potato are all incredible hip-hop songs. From there I went with BabyTron over Nymstar, T-Rex and Immortal Technique, both skilled rappers, but I give it to Tech for his body of work. Although I'm generally not the biggest fan of his music, he does have some cool songs, good production, and some sick verses. Malachi the Nutcracker over Lil Flip, Roddy Ricch versus Sky Blue, pretty easily Roddy, Lando Chill, Galaxy's better than Quavo, the Migos, and then I chose Rome Streets over Skit Slam. In round 2 I started off with Mr. J over Knee Loves Bias, Aesop Rock over Black Sam, Kaniva is definitely better than Bass Antenna, same with Cool Compete and TK, Self Jupiter as I explained earlier is the far superior MC compared to Mouseberg, Immortal Technique over BabyTron, Malachi the Nutcracker took out Roddy Ricch, and the last matchup is debatable, but I feel like Rome Street's more aggressive style is more enjoyable, plus he makes the better music in my opinion and would probably win in a rap battle, so I went with him. But Lando Chill is dope though. Third round, here we go, starting off with Aesop Rock defeating Mr. J Mediros, Cool Compete beating out Kaniba, Silk Jupiter versus Immortal Technique is debatable for many but not for me. I handily gave it to Jupiter. As I said before, I'm not the biggest fan of Immortal Technique's music. He has some great beats, but the rapping doesn't do much for me. His content and messaging are all deeply flawed in my opinion and very surface level. People always point to him being a battle rapper, but he was never that great. He got humiliated by Idea and lost against Iron Solomon too. The only battles he won were because he was up against people who didn't really know what they were doing. I also don't like the hypocrisy about him. You guys remember when Kanye went on InfoWars with Alex Jones and how everyone was tearing him a new one for it? Rightfully so. Well, guess what? Immortal Technique over here did the same thing before Kanye and no one cares. Speaking of Kanye, Immortal Technique says about as much dumb stuff as Kanye does. When Kanye does this, you guys are rightfully on his ass about it, but when Immortal Technique does it, it's suddenly fine. Yeah, for me, it couldn't be clearer cut. Freestyle Fellowship all day. And then finally, I went with Rome Streets over Malachi. In the semifinals, I went with Aesop Rock over Cool Compete. Interesting that they got paired up together considering they are both on Def Jux and were pivotal to the creation of subgenres like nerdcore rap. But I feel like Pete would agree that Ace is the superior MC and artist. And then I went with Self Jupiter over Rome Streets in terms of lyricism and discography. And in the finals, we have a close matchup. Both Self and Ace are top tier lyricists with amazing discographies. But the tiebreaker for me is Ace is also a phenomenal producer, has better content, and is the superior storyteller in my opinion. So Ace Rock is now in our top 64, and Self Jupiter are our top 128. Alright, so for the first matchup of round 1 in bracket 22, I went with Verb T of the 4 Owls over hyperpop artist Deco. The 4 Owls are great, a very underrated UK hip-hop act. Their song 100% has an excellent DJ Premier beat. Pharrell defeated Crypt, Phil Most Chill over Trouble, Iguayaka definitely superior to Hitman, Conceited obviously better than Ace Hood, Charles Hamilton versus Mr. Soul Train. Yeah, I think it's obvious who's better. King Sun over MC Wix, Mr. Fab over Bayswag. Not a big fan of either Freddie Dread or Problems, but Problems sticks out a lot more, so I went with him. Hacked from the group Rat King over Goldie from Dangerous Crew. Swim versus Slim Thug is debatable, but I went with Swim because of his versatility and creativity, plus I prefer his music. Flesh and Bone over BIA, Redman over Sway Lee, Averb over Idris Elba, Mr. Motherfucking X-Squire over Glorilla all day. Like with Sexy Red, I don't think Glorilla is that bad, but X-Squire is on another level. He ushered a more unique personal style to Brooklyn rap in the early 2010s, mixing street stories with experimental sounds. He pushed New York hip-hop in new directions and opened up the door for a wave of different sounding artists. He's also competed with tough lyricists like LP, Killer Mike, Despot, Danny Brown, Wiki, and more. And then I went with Soul over Mike Geronimo, although this could be argued both ways, but in a rap battle I put my money on Soul. I mean, some people say he beat LP. I don't think Mike Geronimo could do the same. I also prefer Soul's music with all of his different groups, plus he has more diversity in my opinion. In the second round I started off with Pharrell over Verb T, then I chose Phil over Igwe, although you could go with either. Phil has clearer bars, a more controlled flow, and a stronger delivery overall. Iguayaka is great too, don't get me wrong, but Phil is sharper technically in my opinion. Charles Hamilton makes better music than Conceited, but his rapping skills aren't on Conceited's level, so I went with him. Mr. Fab is a battle-ready MC with fast, clever bars, sharp punchlines, and confident delivery in my opinion, so I went with him. But you could go either way and I would respect it. Fab also had a solid diss against Royce da 5'9". Hack over Problems, Swim over Flesh and Bone, although again it's arguable both ways, Redman over Averb, and this last one is tough, but I went with Soul. Both are incredible MCs, but I think Soul's discography and versatility are superior. I love both though, and can think of arguments for either. Third round I had Pharrell over Phil, Mr. Fab over Conceited. Conceited is an incredible battle rapper, but his skill shines mainly in punchlines and freestyles. Fab is also strong technically, but he's more versatile across records, not just in battle settings. Hack and Swim, it's debatable, but I went with Swim for the larger and better catalog. Rat King So Go's album is really dope though, definitely check it out. It has some really cool production and great rapping. They did a great job of revitalizing the old school New York boom bap sound while combining it with fresh, experimental, often lo-fi ideas. Last round I had to go Redman over Soul. So for the first match of the semifinals I went with Pharrell over Mr. Fab. Pharrell Pharrell is the purest definition of what a hip-hop artist is, which is what this tournament is about, but Fab would probably crush Pharrell in a battle. Redman over Swim doesn't need much explanation. For the finals, we have a debatable matchup. Both Pharrell and Redman are skilled within their respective lanes. Admittedly, I'm much more of a fan of Pharrell's than Redman's. I've never been crazy for Reddy's music personally. I just don't care for his style. However, I still chose him. Pharrell's genius is undeniable, but under my tournament rules, rapping skill and MC ability carry the day. Bracket 23, first round, here we go. I went with Superstar Pride over Isaiah Tigi, The Grouch over Wackadoodle Little Twist, Lord Jamar over Lou the Human, Bushwick Bill with all the hits he made with the ghetto voice, obviously better than Big Ox, Vakill over Brennan Savage, aka Lil Peep clone number 465,375,224, Hustler over Blake, don't care about Mooski or Roland Thrax, but I went with Roland Thrax. Obi Trice makes better music than Sage Francis by a very large margin. I can't stand Sage's music if I'm being honest, but I had to give it to him for his content, more original style, and he used to be a battle rapper. Nelly over Lil Jon.
What?
I said Nelly over Lil Jon.
What?
I said Nelly over Lil Jon.
Okay!
Anyway, Brother Marquis over J305. I don't want to get sued over a hobby, so I'll just say I chose Dragon in this matchup. Bahamadia over Schoolie. Quasimodo as a holistic artist, definitely better than Don Pacino. Sad that Juicy J got eliminated so early, as I've always liked him. All of his work with 3 6 Mafia and his solo stuff are great in my opinion. But Melanin 9 wins in terms of lyrical dexterity and content, but I prefer Juicy's music personally. For the next match, I have to apologize, as I accidentally picked Yellow Hill over Nino Paid. I guess I made an error during the voting process. But yeah, I meant to go with Nino Paid. No shade to Yellow Hill, he's good, but Nino Paid is one of my favorite new artists out right now, and I prefer his music and messaging. And last, but certainly not least, I went with Grandmaster Melly Mel over Ken Garson in all aspects. In the second round, I won with The Grouch over Superstar Pride, larger body of work and more accomplishments in the genre. Lord Jamar over Bushwick Bill. Both have been a part of incredible groups, but as individuals, I think Jamar is superior. Lyrically, I think Vakill is superior by a large margin. Both are incredibly underrated. I went with Hustler though, as I prefer his music, but you can argue either way. Sage Francis over Rolling Thrax, Nelly over Brother Marquis, although I'm not the biggest Nelly fan. Both Dragon and Bahamadia are talented MCs, but in terms of discography and lyricism, I had to give it to Bahamadia. Lyrically, I think Melanin 9 would destroy Madlib, but in terms of discography, style, and overall artistic capabilities, I had to give it to Lord Quaz. And Melly Mel is indeed superior to Nino Paid. In the third round, I went with Lord Jamar over The Grouch, both great rappers, but I prefer Brand New Vian over Living Legends. Sage Francis over J Hus, Bahamadia over Nelly, glad he's out, and finally I went with Quasimodo over Grandmaster Melly Mel. Hopefully he doesn't write a diss track on me for saying that. You guys know I don't care about influence. I like Melly Mel's music, but I prefer Madlib's. Plus as an overall artist, which is what this tournament is about, Quaz handily takes this in my opinion. For the first round of the semifinals, I went with Lord Jamar over Sage Francis, although I think Sage Francis in his prime would have destroyed Lord Jamar in a battle, but Jamar makes much better music in my opinion, and I picked Madlib over Bahamadia in terms of catalog and style. And in the finals, I picked Madlib over Lord Jamar, so Quasimodo is in our top 64. First round, bracket 24. First match, I went with Copyright of Megahertz Legacy over Positive K. Copyright is the better lyricist, especially in terms of punchlines, and that's a superior discography in my opinion. DZK, easily better than Yak Poji. I don't like Black Youngster or Slime Get 'em, but Slime style would probably play to his advantage in a rap battle, so I went with him. Ransom versus Ed Rock is debatable. I prefer the Beastie Boys music a lot more to Ransom's, but Ransom's the better lyricist and also makes good music, so I chose him. Change of Mouth obviously better than High School Dropout, Low Blurry. Iron Braids and Mr. Eon are both skill MCs, but I went with Eon for his discography. M. Saeed of Anti-Pop Consortium over Katrina, J.O. Felony over SSG Kobe. I went with PD Pablo over Asim. Asim is probably the superior lyricist, but P. Pablo has a more fleshed out discography with some dope hits. Stretch Up Nani by nature, obviously better than I Am Sue. I went with Charlie over Kanji because Charlie is more in line with being a rapper. I'm not a fan of either. MC Breed has larger body of work compared to Storm, so I went with him. Big Boo 100% better than Big Mo. J Sands obviously better than 1 AM. Rappers be naming themselves anything these days, I swear. I swear every day I side more and more with old heads. I went with King T over Tobacco Ryan, and Osama Son over Silento, although I'm not a fan of either. Round 2, I chose Pete Nelson over DZK, then Ransom over Slime Get 'em, Mr. Eon over Change of Mouth, M. Saeed eliminated J.O. Felony, Stretch over PD Pablo, MC Breed took out Chow Lee, Big Pooh over J Sands in terms of content and catalog, and finally King T defeated Osama Son. Quarterfinals, I went with Copyright over Ransom. Copy is just on another level lyrically. That said, I don't know how a battle between these two would look. Copy has clashed with more and sometimes tougher opponents, Cage, Esoteric, Asher Roth, and even John Cena. Ransom to my knowledge only went up against Joe Budden, which people said he lost, so it's debatable, but I went with Copyright. Mr. Eon over M. Saeed, Tretch in terms of flow and discography is superior to MC Breed, and then I picked Big Pooh over King T. Semifinals Semi-finals, I went with Copyright over Mr. Eon. Interesting that they got paired up together because Copy was signed to Eastern Conference. Every time they rapped together, Copy came out ahead. Both have great catalogs, but I gave it to Copy for clashing with tougher lyricists with diss tracks and on features. That and Thick Stretcher for Big Pooh, although I should know that Little Brother is one of my favorite groups actually. They pioneered internet distribution and told real, everyday stories people could actually relate to, and inspired big artists like Drake and Kendrick Lamar. Their music had strong lyrics, full concept albums, and showed that Southern rappers could go bar for bar with anyone. With 9-1 they're making beats at home, and their focus staying true to their art. They helped kick off the blog era and show you didn't need a major label or a big city to build a real career in hip-hop. The Listening and especially The Minstrel Show are both classics. And for the finals, I obviously had to go with Tretch. Copyright is dope, but not on Tretch's level in my opinion, so Tretch is now in our top 64. That was all for part 3. See you in part 4 where we go over brackets 25 to 32. Let me know what you think of the tournament so far and how you would rank these artists in the comments below. Thanks for watching.